Uh, Not very rested. Oh damn! Did you sleep bad or what's what's the point? I'm good. I had a nice day. I did some variations at work, some compositional stuff today. It was quite fun. Was very playful, very creative, and I had some good sleep. So I cannot say that I'm tired or anything. So I'm good. Let me see. Are my glasses now clean? Yeah. What's the point of living anyways? Hey, come on, bro. Life is good. Uh, and I show you now some tips and tricks how the freelance life even gets better. So yeah, let's maybe go with that. Um, yeah, the thumbnails are crazy, right? Um, I'm, that for me, this just for me, it's all new with those thumbnails, but I thought I'd go a bit nuts because I feel like having a crazy thumbnail helps people to click on that video. It's a bit weird actually to do those kind of weird facial expressions for the thumbnail, as you can see here. Yeah, this one is insane, right? There are some very weird ones. I do like the one where I'm laughing. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, this is also crazy. Anyways, I would appreciate if you leave um, a follow on YouTube as well, if you haven't done that already. Martin Bausch, hello. Nice to see you here. Um, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that a lot. Good morning. Hi, hi. Neva336, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. And I really like that so many people are frequently joining in the stream. Actually, I never thought that um, I never thought that even some people show up here, but it seems like it's quite funny and interesting for some of you at least. And I guess today it's gonna be more of a information stream and a bit more of I don't know how to say, but sharing experiences and learning from each other. And it would be really cool if you guys could add some bullet points. If I miss anything along the way, just write it in the chat. So for today, the plan is actually, or I thought, let's see. So let's maybe get a headline. Okay, wow, I have it this color. Let's make it cool and simple. So for today, I thought it could be cool to talk a little about freelancing, and maybe sharing some tips and tricks, and also maybe we're gonna talk a little bit about social media, what works good for you. Yeah, what doesn't work on social media. I have written down some bullet points for myself that I want to go through. So some pros and cons for the freelance life, especially as a 3D artist. I think like freelancing sometimes is a bit romanticized. Like a lot of people think you just start freelancing and you become a millionaire because yeah, you could earn good money as freelancer. So today I want to talk a bit about what obviously the benefits are, but also what downsides freelancing brings with it. And Yeah, what else? Let me check what else I have on the list. So then general tips for freelancers, besides being pro or con, and maybe I wouldn't want to share some ideas or some good techniques I used in order to get clients. Yeah, and then social media do's and don'ts. And if you feel like along the way I'm missing something, or if you want to give a comment, I appreciate that highly, and I'm gonna take that into this list here. And then I would like to share this list with everyone. So yeah, a bit weirdly that I'm using Photoshop, but I don't have any other writing tool here inside. I don't know. Do I have Word? Yeah, WordPad? Does WordPad work? Maybe I use that instead. Or yeah, never mind. Let's just stick to Photoshop for now. Yeah. Yo, people are still coming in. Let's maybe. Yeah, it's weird using Photoshop for this kind of stuff, but I'm really a noob with Photoshop, so maybe I get more used to Photoshop when I do stuff like that inside of it. So maybe let's wait a few minutes until more people are here, and we watch some games while we are waiting. So, have you guys seen this robot stuff? AI when it's come to making 3D models renders. AI when it comes for retopology weight painting. Yeah. Even AI don't want to do this crappy stuff, right? Let's see. What is this? You may be old, but are you this old? I am not. Can you explain this to me? Like, is this a logo of a very early 3D software or something? EG, hi. Hi, nice to see you here. Always good to see new names popping up. So can anyone explain what this is? Antics, hello. Half Dini. Yeah, would be interesting actually. What is that? Old logo of Blender. Oh, now we got the Blender users here. You guys didn't know that, right? Let's check that actually. Blender logos. Like I just know this one, of course. I think everyone knows this one. Wow, this looks really old. Ah, there we have the evolution of the Blender logo. That is crazy. Yeah, Yannick, what's up? I had to cut my workout short and cancel on my girlfriend tonight to watch this masterpiece of a motion picture live broadcast. Nice to see you here, my friend. I appreciate it a lot. I have some insights and experiences to share. And maybe, Yannick, you can also share your insights along the way. Thank you very much. Thank you a lot for the follow. So yeah, I think Yannick also has a lot experience, also as freelancing. Oh wow, we reached a new goal, guys. 100 followers on Twitch. Nice. I feel honored. I feel gifted. Thank you, guys. So yeah, everyone is welcome to share their thoughts in the comments. And yeah, so we can maybe create this little list together with some beneficial tricks and tips and pros and cons as a freelancer. Yeah, I hope so. I hope I didn't miss anything. I wrote down quite a lot. And Tim J is also freelancing for quite a while, so I think he can share some insights as well. Yeah. Hi, Dennis. Nice to see you here. Conversation with clients is also covered here, but not in depth. I mean, I'm not a creative director, so usually I don't have much conversations with clients per se, but I mean, I think as a freelancer, you will mostly also work with studios. So if you call studios your clients, I can give some insights, but with direct clients, I'm also not yeah, very used to, because usually I work with studios, to be honest. I had like a few direct clients and it was kind of nice. It was a good experience, but I can tell you a little bit the experience or the difference between direct clients and studio. Um, so yeah, I think people still coming in, but I think we can maybe start. And don't laugh at me. I'm using I'm using Photoshop for this. Um, yeah. So let's maybe start with pros and cons. Maybe create a little uh, things like this. So copy that, duplicate layer. I'm a real pro here. And I can just push it like this, right? There you go, cons. So let's make that a little bit interactive. What do you guys think is the biggest pro for freelancing compared to being a staff? Would be interesting what you guys think. Freedom. Freedom is a good point. Money, obviously. Yeah, money. Money it is. Sleeping in. You guys immediately got the right point, and we need to write that obviously down. So let me write that down. So I think one of the biggest points that speaks for freelancing is money. Um, maybe let's change the size here. Wow, that is too small probably to read in the chat. But I think like that, it's still, oh wow. It's still possible to read, right? Was it? Oh, it was 24, right? Can you still read it? Everything's fine? Yeah, I think so. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit more. Good. So let's start with the obvious one and let's talk a bit about money. I think, yeah, that actually would be pretty interesting. What do you guys think is a realistic rate as a freelancer? Like if you get a booking, for example, at Studio Future Deluxe, Man vs. Machine, Tomorrow Bureau, or any other big studio, what would you say is a common rate? Because I think a lot of people actually don't know what rates are nowadays and what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, what is too much, what is not enough for a rate. So it would be interesting to see your opinion on this. 450 to 600 per day. If you earn more being freelance than stuff, that sounds like a skill issue to me. Interesting. Interesting. We can talk about that as well. It depends where you live. In Turkey, it's probably $100 for a day. 500 to 1,250 Studio to Direct Client. 5 Euro, dann ist ja auch gut bezahlt. For sure. Unter dem Taui stehe ich nicht auf. Guys, we need to stick to the English language because we have an international audience here. So they basically said under 1,000 euros, I don't get out of my bed. So yeah, I think the rates are not too bad. So my personal rate for studio work would be, let's say, money. Let's say studio would be 350 to 750 euros. I think that is realistic. Because think about it, like in between you and the client is still a studio who wants to make also money, obviously. And that's why the rates, like working with studios, are usually a bit less than working with a direct client. I think 350 euro is the very low end of the rate, but if you start, for example, with freelancing and you don't have a big kind of network you can choose clients from or studios from, I think let me explain it the other way around. Personally, I think 350 euro is also quite cheap. It's not a good rate, but I would accept an offer for 350 euros in before I don't have any money income. So if you start freelancing and you don't have a lot options to choose from and you receive an offer, but they say, listen, we don't have a big budget on the project, we can offer you 350 euros, I would still accept it because a little cash flow is always better than no cash flow. And you can fight me for that. Obviously, if you have some savings and you're not like you don't need the money as hard as a beginner, if you have some savings, you could decline the offer and say, no, I don't work for that day rate. But I think 350, yeah, is better than nothing, in my opinion. I think at 350 a day is not worth it being freelance, considering the accounting, insurance, and insecurity issues. Yeah, we need to also pay for the insecurity issues. But yeah, I think like if you are a beginner in the freelance area and you receive an offer for that amount of money, you better take it instead of having nothing. So I think it's a low rate, but it's still better than nothing, yeah. So now comes my second question. What do you think you can earn when you work with a direct client? Because obviously, as I already said, you could get a bit more from direct clients. So it would be interesting to see what you guys think if you have a direct client. So what is your wild guess? Let me just open my window for some fresh air. In the US, the more senior Houdini freelancers I've worked with, myself included, the range is 900 to 1,200 US dollars. Are you speaking about direct clients right now? Yes, we are, right? So I think, yeah, that's a pretty accurate range, I would say. Yeah. So I would have a little bit of overlap here. So let's say direct client, maybe put it in next. Direct client would be from the lowest you should go is 500 to 1,200. And you could even go beyond that. I mean, it's just there's no real limit, right? If you're able to hey Paul Esteves, nice to see you here. Nice. Hello. Maybe, yeah, it would be also interesting to see what other freelancers here in the chat earns. So I think that's a good rate personally to invoice them 1,200 euros, but obviously there is no real border to it. If you're good in negotiation, you could probably also go with 2,000. But yeah, I think 1,200 is a good range. Yeah. So that's a lot of money actually you could earn. I mean, let's do a little math here. And because I'm bad in math, we use the calculator. So let's say you have 500 euro day rate. You work 5 days per week and then the entire month. So that's 10,000 euro, right? Straight up 10,000 euros you could earn with a day rate of 500 euro. And this number, like, this sounds super nice. For me, if I could have this to spend, it would be awesome. But I don't know how it is in your country, but in Germany, you still have to pay taxes from that. So roughly, what stays on your end is around, I would say, 5,000 is what is for you. Like, taking into consideration that you need to pay insurance, you have to pay taxes and all the other stuff. And then on top of that comes costs from software, keeping your computer up to date, and all these things. Paying your electricity bill, because I know rendering can be expensive. So yeah, that's something you should take into consideration as well. So yeah, the first and biggest pro thing for me was, and I think for all of the freelancers, is money. Yeah, for example, soft costs like Maxon, Abo, SideFX, Adobe, whatever you name it, all the software you need to work. I ask for RAM sticks as payment now. Yeah, man, RAM sticks are so fucking expensive nowadays. So I get the idea. So okay, so the cons. Let's jump into this. And I think for me personally, one of the very first cons that came into my mind when I created this kind of list was that it is actually more work than you expect it to be. Because when you are a freelancer, you need to do all the email work, you need to write invoices, you need to do your taxes, you need to keep up in the social media game, you need to do some networking and stuff like that. I was not so aware of in the beginning, actually. And I mean, I kind of was aware of it, but I was not aware of how much time it consumes to do this kind of stuff. And I don't know how you guys feel, but thank you very much. It's a lot more than I thought it would be. So let's maybe more work than you think. What can we writing emails, invoices, taxes, taxes. What else? Doing social media. Because I think social media is a very big part of being a freelancer, because you need to be visible for studios and for clients. Inconsistent income is also a really important point. Actually, we could take that right now in. Inconsistent income. And that is really interesting that you mentioned this one, because especially as a beginner, it could be really hard if you start a booking, you don't have any savings, and also the studio never pays, or in very rare cases they pay you instantly after the booking, right? Usually you wait 1 or 2 months and then they pay you. And I can tell you a little side fact or a little story. Like when I started freelancing, I think one of my very first bookings, I think it was the second or the third booking ever, was for a studio. I don't want to say the name, but they booked me for quite a long time. I think 2 months or something. And like in the end, I just wrote the invoice and I gave them the net 30. Like you say, net 30 for giving them the opportunity to pay 30 days later after the booking. And they paid me, I think, 6 months later. And I was waiting, I think, 6 months for it was, I think, 16,000 euro. And I was writing so many emails to them. At some at some point I was starting to talk to a lawyer what I can do. And I started like in Germany you have those 14 days for giving them the opportunity to react to your latest letter. And I actually started writing like in like physical letters to them, and asked them if they can pay me the money. Otherwise, I need to do some legal actions with the lawyer and stuff like that. And really, I had so many sleepless nights. I swear to you guys, it was a very tough time for me. Um, and I really questioned myself in that period. I was really thinking whether I chose the right way. It was really, really hard for me. And it was such a relief when the money came onto my bank account. So be aware of that point as well, that you don't have consistent income, and there are some black sheeps out there who think you are a junior or something, and they can like kind of take advantage of you and kind of treat you like shit. So yeah, it's sometimes really hard. I think depending on your current status in the industry, quality of projects can be worse being freelance. At least in my experience, the project I was able to work on full time were much nicer than the ones I did when I was freelance. Bigger clients, higher impact projects. I would agree. I would agree, Anak. I also think a lot studios book freelancers actually to do the shitty work no intern wants to do. I had that quite often when I was at Man V. Like they're such a good studio, right? They don't need any freelancers. But they book them sometimes to do crappy work nobody nobody else wants to do. So that's a good point actually. I had the same with a studio in Spain. After 6 months, the studio still didn't want to pay me. So I had a 2-month long legal battle with lawyers. Yeah, man, Tim, I'm so it's so weird because like so many freelancers tell me the same experience, and it seems to be quite common in the industry, which is, I don't know, it's hilarious actually, that it's so common. Like almost everyone I've ever spoken to told me they at least had one one time in their life they had such an experience with a studio or with a client. So yeah, guys, be aware of that. That is really a negative point. So let's jump into a positive point again. So let me check what I have on the list. So just some bullet points. Yeah. Also, I wrote down regarding the money. Sometimes if you feel like you're struggling with what rate should I pick, what are my rates, think about it the other way around. How much money actually do I need to make a nice living in the country I do live? And then maybe do the calculation the other way around. How high does my rate need to be in order to achieve that goal? That could be a nice approach to finding the right rate for you. I think like there's no point about going full 750 because also with the rate comes responsibility, right? If you're like a freelancer and you're more in the upper part, the studio really puts pressure on you and you need to like nail the job and in a quick way. And I think if you're more on this end, the studio will be a bit more forgiving. That's at least my experience. Like they say, okay, you're not that expensive. You maybe need a little bit longer. So it's a bit more forgiving, and also take that into your consideration if you're thinking about the day rate you have. So okay. Also, what I already said, don't leave money. If you just have one offer and it's a bit low balled, take it because low money is better than no money. Okay. So one thing that could be on both sides, but I write it on the pros, is you from home. I think it could be a pro, but it also could be a con. Because it is nice, you don't have a long way to the work, right? You just wake up and you go into the next room, sit down in front of your computer, and you can have like chilled out clothing, sometimes in the boxer shorts or something. um, it's for me, it's a pro, but it can be also a con if you quite enjoy having lunchtime with your colleagues or actually having real human interaction. And I think also being on site in the office leads to more learning, to a higher learning curve, because you could like just ask your colleague, hey dude, can you help me with this and that setup? How would you approach this problem inside of Houdini? So I think especially in the beginning you should at least have 1, 2, or even more years of experience before you start freelancing. That's my personal advice. And working from home can be quite lonely. I think I never experienced the loneliness kind of things because my girlfriend also works from home. So that's quite nice, and we spend lunch breaks together. I can just go over into her room and annoy her a little bit and stuff like that. So I never have this kind of loneliness effect from working from home, but I know a lot of people from the industry who told me they don't like to work from home because they feel lonely. Uh, I'm working from home about 6 months, and I'm asocial as fuck right now. Yeah, I think so. I think also you start off unlearning the ability to communicate in a proper way with people. I think that's really a problem. Uh, Guys, please answer. Don't you take 30 or 50% upfront? That's actually a good question with taking money upfront. I think you should take money upfront if you have a bit of a feeling that the studio is a bit sus. So let's explain that. If you work with well-known studios which have a really good name out in the industry and are like very well known, for example, Man vs. Machine, Future Deluxe, you name them, the really big players, I would not take 50% upfront because like asking for 50% upfront always implies also a bit of a trust issue. You don't trust them fully. And I feel like don't even asking for it because like those big players, they have a name to lose, right? If you expose them, if they don't pay you or something and you go out into public and you expose them, nobody wants to work anymore with them. But if you're working with smaller studios which are not well known, I would almost go every time with 50% upfront. And of course, go with 100% upfront at the mill. Like they doing kind of weird stuff. Like I heard a lot weird stuff with the mill. Um, by the way, they're back again, right? They just relaunched their studio after all this shit, and they still don't pay the artists, which is really, really shady. I hope they don't sue me. What's that? You don't know The Mill? It's quite a big VFX house. It's quite well known. I think they did a lot of Hollywood movies and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot freelancers have been there. And I think it was the second time they did this kind of stuff. They just booked tons of freelancers for projects, and then they just said, we're bankruptcy. We don't have any more money to pay. They closed their studio. No freelancer received their money. And then after 3 months or something, they relaunched the studio. That's so weird. I think it was the second time they did this. So be aware of that, guys. So yeah, that was it for the 50% upfront stuff. So another con for me was for sure. We have that. Like more work than more costs that you think. Like paying for all the programs, paying like for software, also keeping up with the progress in hardware, like updating hardware. I'm sure like sometimes you could go away or you could get along if you are booked at a studio and you ask, hey, I don't have a license for Cinema 4D. I'm usually a Houdini guy. Could I lend a Cinema 4D license for that job? And that worked quite well for me because I don't own a Cinema 4D license for now a couple of years. But still, I never had the experience that I was asking for new hardware and the studio was, hey, yeah, I'm gonna send you a new 5090 over. Just give me your address. So yeah, I think you have more costs than being staff because usually if you're an employee, the studio gives you the machine, right, and gives you all the hardware you need. They update the hardware, they pay for the software, and yeah, so you have more costs than you would think in the beginning. And so yeah, let me just get a bit more work from home. We had that covered. So the next point here on the pros would be, in my opinion, you have more flexibility, whether when you work and also on what you work. So let's write that. More flexibility when you work and on what you work. It sounds a bit weird maybe in the beginning because when you work can also be restricted sometimes due to the studio's core times. Like a lot of studios work from, I mean, it also depends where the studio is. If they are in the UK or if they are in LA and you are in Europe, you have some time shifts and some time overlaps, and you need to speak to producers what is the best time to work. But I think in general, you have more flexibility than being an employee. You could go, for example, I don't know, to the doctor or to the hairdresser, or you could go into the grocery shop, do the groceries, and then work afterwards a few hours more. I think I never experienced a studio that was completely like, no, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you go to the grocery shop or something? And this point is something I need to explain a bit more because on what you work really depends on how well you are known in the industry. So, for example, I think you don't have the flexibility to choose on what you want to work if you are a beginner. Like, for example, you only receive maybe 1 or 2 offers per month for freelance work. You probably just need to pick those up, right? There's no kind of flexibility of choosing between projects. But if you would receive maybe 4 or 5 offers per week, you could easily say to studios, yeah, you know, I'm having a bit of a chat with another studio. I have a hold there. I have a hold there. I cannot like give you 100%, and then you just hop onto a few meetings and ask whether they can show you the project. And in the end, you can maybe pick the project you like the most. But this is not something that applies for anybody. So I would keep that in brackets like this. I hope that makes sense overall. If something is unclear, just let me know in the chat. I try to keep one eye on the chat, but it's a bit tough to read everything and to get into all the things. Let's save that for later, maybe. Freelance pros and cons. So what was that by Zach? By the way, nice to see you here, my friend. Kind of hard to explain, but moving to freelance also turned my work-life balance on its head. Like, is it okay for me to be done with work for the day? Maybe I pushed the scene a little bit further. Hard for me not to put in more hours than necessary. Burnout coming in fast. That's a really good point you're talking about. And I also have that on the cons, like, especially as a beginner. Let me see where I wrote it down and how I wrote it down. But that's a really good point, and I would agree like 100% to it. So I wrote down, you tend to work longer in order, like, especially in the beginning, you tend to work longer in order to establish a long-term relationship with the studios. And it's always a fine line between, can I put a little bit more work in? Can I push it 1 or 2 hours more so my work gets even better and it gets recognized? And I'm sure they will appreciate it by booking me one more time or something like this. Like, this can really drive you crazy as a freelancer. And then you end up working 10, 11, 12 hours per day. I swear to God, it happened like not only once to me that I was working 12 hours per day or even longer than that. So be aware of like very long working shifts. And I think as an employee, you could actually just go home, or if you do overtime, you at least get the overtime either paid or you can take a day off or something. That's not gonna happen as a freelancer, I promise to you. They will not offer you to pay the overtime, or they will also not offer you to give you a day off because you worked so much overtime. So you tend to work longer than usual, especially as a beginner. How did I wrote it? You tend to longer, especially as a beginner, in order to impress the, I don't know, studio or client. Because you like especially as a beginner, you want to kind of establish this network with different studios who reach out to you frequently or often. So you constantly have the work, right? And you constantly receive work and have a constant cash flow. So I think that is really a con, and that could lead like really crazy fast to burnout. Be please aware of that, guys. Yeah, that's really crazy. Totally wasn't used to setting boundaries with myself. Yeah, man, that's a good point. I think every freelancer goes through this. You need to learn to create those boundaries for yourself. Otherwise, you will burn out. Yeah, I promise that to you. And I know I don't want to call names out, but I know a lot of people in the industry, even well-known names, who burned out because of that kind of shit. So yeah, please be aware of that. Any networking tips for beginners to start freelancing? Yeah, we're gonna cover that a bit later, my friend. how you got these first clients. Are they just wrote you because of your Instagram or website? That's also a good point. I also want to come to that later, how to approach clients, how to get clients. After the pro and cons, we will cover a little bit of general freelance tips and tricks, and then we also cover what to do in order to get new clients, in order to yeah, in order to get the attention from studios and stuff like that. Okay, so the next point, we jump back to the pros. I think I have a little bit more pros. So I had that as a separate point, that you can choose from projects if you have more work or more offers. I wrote that here, but let's maybe get that a separate point. So you can choose between projects if you more than one offer. That means obviously if you just have one offer for one project, you pick it because that's your cash flow. But if you have more offers, you can do small little tricks. I explain now one trick I did a few times. I hope not a studio owner is here and feels offended, but I do this from time to time. Like for example, let's say a studio reaches out to you, but you know you have a couple of more emails from different studios also, and they are looking for a freelancer. So what I usually do, I say, I do have a first hold at another studio, but can you tell me more about the project, and I can kind of challenge this hold. Do you guys know, by the way, what holds are or pencils? Do I need to explain that, or is it clear? And like when they say, yeah, no worries with the hold, we jump on a call, they show me the project, and I feel like I really don't feel the project. Okay, you don't know what a hold is? So, for example, a studio reaches out and asks you, do you have an availability for the next 3 weeks? And for the next 3 weeks, you are free, you're available. So you give them a hold, so they kind of take a reservation on you, but it's not a fixed booking. It's like kind of they see whether they find work in the next 3 weeks, and then it will eventually lead to a booking. But when another studio reaches out in that period, you need to tell the first studio that the other studio reached out and wants to challenge this hold. And then the first studio that has this hold on you can either release you, so you're free to work with the new studio, or they can say, no, we cannot release you, but we book you now. So the hold transitions into a real booking. Does that make sense? Did I explain it good? Is it clear? Yeah. So let's jump back into the offers kind of thing. So if a studio reaches out and say, yeah, we have a project, we want to book you, I sometimes say I have an hold in this period, although there is no real hold, but I say it because that's my kind of escape plan. And then I still ask, yeah, but we can challenge the hold. Can you show me the project? And if I'm really into this project, I just say to the studio, yeah, they released me from the hold. We can work together. And if I don't like the project, or I don't feel the project that much, or I don't feel like I'm the perfect fit for the project, I say, they didn't release me from the hold. They transitioned the hold onto a booking on their end. So I can dodge this project without being rude, you know? Does it make sense? I hope I hope it does. Yeah, anyways, it's a small little freelancer trick everyone should be aware of. Yeah. So what is the next thing? I think we jump into cons as a next thing. We we had this kind of stuff that you tend to work longer, right? So inconsistent income was the next point on my list, actually. I wrote down you need to survive periods where you don't get any job offers, especially in the beginning without backup money. That could be an existential problem. Like just like I explained with the studio that owed me 16,000, and I was waiting for half a year for that. Thank you very much. Thank you for the follow. So yeah, that is for sure a con. And a big con, I think, in our time is, and I'm sure you're not surprised, but we are not aware of the future, especially with all this kind of AI stuff. So the future is a bit unclear because of AI and stuff like that. Right? It's, I mean, you're a liar if you say you're not being a bit afraid of AI. I mean, I am. You were either a liar or you're ignorant as fuck. I don't know. I don't know. Up to you. Choose your poison. The problem with holds and pencil in studios often don't react. Remember, you're supposed to start next week and you're chasing the holds. Yeah, that's a point. But I would say it belongs into your work. This is the first point that I mentioned, like writing emails, being behind studios, remembering the holds, remembering deadlines, remembering that you will start next week and stuff like that. I feel like that is the kind of work that is around you as a freelancer, and you're probably not aware of that when you start freelancing. So I think this is your responsibility to remind studios that they have a hold, to remind studios that you will start booking, that the booking starts tomorrow or whatever. I think this is your responsibility as a freelancer as well. So I do have one more pro, and I think then my list comes more or less to an end. So I think one big pro is you can basically work from anywhere. And let me explain that. I mean, obviously you need a strong machine, like a strong computer to work from anywhere, but you're able to move into any country you want. Like if I would say tomorrow I want to live in Thailand, for example, or I want to live in any other country, I can just pick my computer with me, go into this new country, move into a flat, and I can work from there. You could not do that as easy if you are an employee. I know a lot studios who wants their stuff to be on site. Like I was talking to a lot of studios from Berlin who said that they only take people who actually live in Berlin, or they help you if you are from another country to move to Berlin, but you need to be, like, usually if you are staff, you need to be on site at the city where the studio is. AI can't replace Houdini artists in 95%, in my opinion. I would agree, but only in this time. You never know what's going to happen the next years. But I don't want to talk too much about AI today because the talk will never end. Without a confirmed booking, there is nothing a studio owes you. Yeah, I mean, imagine you give a hold to a studio and then you just accept a booking at another studio and you don't tell the first studio that you accepted this booking, and they come back and say, hey, listen, we had this hold, we want to book you now. It's a kind of a shady move from you because you didn't clearly communicate, in my opinion. And probably the first studio who had the hold will never come back again because they feel like he's not communicating properly. And that's a soft skill you should also have as a freelancer, at least in my opinion. I mean it this way. I didn't mean it this way around. Yeah, anyways, I know, but that's also something we should be aware as freelancers. So let me get that right. Do you guys have another point, maybe for pros or cons I was missing out here? Gotta reach out to the first hold and notify them of the challenge, book or release. Exactly, exactly. And it's a bit shady if you don't reach out to them and just accept another booking. Because I was reading, like, without a confirmed booking, there is nothing. Maybe you own a studio or the studio owns you, but yeah, I get the point. That always communicating in a good way. So, is there anything else you guys would add to this list? We all benefit from that. If you have another pro or con, just write it in the comments. Mm, but that's basically my list. What I meant is if a hold is canceled, the studio don't owe you anything. Yeah, that's true. That's true for sure. Yeah. Okay, so nothing to add for the pros and cons, guys. I often have problem to overthink about project choosing material lighting, so how to tackle that in proper way and be more on the point. Sorry, I'm out of context. I think that's more technical. That's not so much what we're talking about today. So sorry if I don't go into that now. Maybe we do another stream where I go more into this. Pro might be variety in the type of project unless you always get booked for a very specific thing. Could be a pro thing, could be also a con thing, but yeah, having kinda, you mean flexible tasks, like different and interesting tasks? Having different and interesting tasks. I mean, I'm not sure about that because I know some studios who book freelancers for their shitty tasks. Like for the fun projects, like for internal studio work, for example, or for creative internal studio work, they usually use their own staff and employees, right? You probably never get booked as a freelancer to do internal projects or the fun stuff. So yeah. Another big plus is that we can do so many different things, whether 3D printing, jewelry design. Yeah, I think yeah, maybe that also goes into this, having different and interesting tasks. Maybe also different clients, like you said, like printing, jewelry, and so on, whatever. Hi, Max. Longtime fan. I'm really enjoying your stream. Did you already talked about how to find new clients or the best ways to contact a studio to collaborate with? First of all, hi, and thank you very much for being in the stream. That's actually the next point I'm going to talk about. So you just came in the right timing. And yeah, we're currently still debating about pros and cons of being a freelancer. Modelers will mostly be booked. What are these shitty tasks? What are shitty tasks? I mean, for example, shitty tasks are retopo, are maybe a project nobody wants to do because it's boring as fuck. The client is boring. He wants to go with a very conservative, boring way in terms of design. And yeah, I mean, there's plenty of shitty tasks, like, trust me. Freelance Pro, interaction with different people expands your network. 100%. I think networking and interacting with different people, whether it's 3D artists or producers or creative directors, it's really, really important, especially as a freelancer. So that leads me to my next point, which is, let's make it like that, which is general tips and tricks as a freelancer, obviously. Let's maybe put it a bit closer so we have a bit more space. Just like that. And let's copy this one. Place that here. So I think a general tip for me is think about where you want to be booked. Um, like, for example, before you start freelancing, think about what do I want to do? Do I want to be a look development artist? Do I want to be a simulation artist, a Houdini artist? Like, think about that and really learn the software that is required in that field. Like, for example, if you use Blender, I don't have good news for you because um, Blender is not really used a lot by those professional studios. I can tell you that. Like, for example, at every studio I was booked, I could remember they either used Cinema 4D or Houdini. And as a render engine, they used Redshift or Octane. So those are the things. Think about what to learn and what you want to do in the future. You don't agree with that? So how do I write that down? Think about where you want to be booked. Industry and learn the tools. I mean, there are probably some studios who use Blender, but the first, I mean, the big ones I know, like Man vs. Machine, Future Deluxe, you name them, Tendril, like Super Designers, whatever. Like all these kind of big studios we were watching yesterday, most of them, I think 95% or something uses Houdini, Cinema 4D, Redshift, Octane. Like for example, XK Studio, Houdini, Octane. Man vs. Machine, Cinema 4D, Houdini, Redshift. Exponsa in Germany, Cinema 4D, Houdini, Octane, Redshift. So I don't know. Maybe there are some studios that tend to prefer Blender artists, but in most cases, I feel like those big studios prefer, Houdini, Cinema 4D. I mean, if you aim for those small studios that use Blender, then you're totally fine. But don't expect it like to work for the studios I just named with with Blender, right? Because they will not like change their entire pipeline just because you use Blender. And that's actually also the reason why I never worked, for example, for XK Studio, because I don't use Octane. So if I go there and I say, hey, I'm a Houdini guy that uses Redshift, they be like, hey, that's nice, but we use Houdini, that's cool. But for rendering, we use Octane. So I get the point that they just take freelancers who really are into Octane as well. So that just makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Let me just read a few of those comments. The good news for all Blender users is that if you know the basics, just about learning new shortcuts and UI, Houdini is another story though. Yeah, I mean, when it comes, the transitions from Blender to Cinema 4D is quite easy, to be honest. I also did this transition back in the day when I was a student. That's really, really doable, in my opinion. I also thought like Cinema 4D is a bit more user friendly. You have nicer icons, everything is a bit more designy, and the transition is not too hard. Why would you use Octane instead of Redshift when rendering in Houdini? Didn't try both of them out yet, but read that integration of Redshift was a lot better. I mean, sometimes it's not about integration. I think both is quite doable. You could install Redshift, you could also install Octane. In the end, it's a more of a look kind of question, and also it's about a convenience thing, right? If the studio was using Octane for their entire life, they're not gonna switch to Redshift just because the integration is better. That's the kind of thing. Like different studios have different pipelines, and you need to be aware of that. You really need to be aware of that. It's like the same. If you want to be a game developer, you probably learn Unreal Engine, right? You don't learn Cinema 4D and then expect to be a game developer. That just doesn't make sense at all, in my opinion. So yeah, really take care of or think about where you want to be in the end and learn those tools that are required to be in this kind of field. Let me think. What is the next thing on the list? So the next one is a really important one. Always prefer, when it comes to learning a software, learn shading, lighting over simulation. So shading, sorry for my bad misspelling, shading, and it's more important simulation. And I'm gonna fight for you over that because, for example, let's say you have a simple simulation that is not that hard to achieve, something Vellum related, something beginner friendly. If you could shade it and light it beautifully and give it a realistic touch and maybe also give it a nice designy touch, you could sell it better to the client instead of having the most complex simulation ever, but it just looks shitty. It just is shitty rendered. It just doesn't look good. It makes no sense. Like, it's always good to be technical on a good level, right? But I think it's more important to make a shot beautiful in terms of lighting, in terms of look development. So whenever it comes to learning a new software, be aware of that you should prefer shading and lighting over simulation. I don't Oh, no, Dennis. I don't want to attack anyone here. It's just my personal preference, and like it always made sense for me when I thought about that. Yeah, trashy rausgepustet. Exactly, my friend. No, but I think, yeah, like, would you fight me for that argument? Like saying that shading and lighting is more important? I think it makes sense, right? Doesn't it? Mm. So what is the next point? If you don't want to fight me on that point, I'm gonna hop into the next point. What do I had? Shading and lighting. Yeah, exactly. There we were. So the next point is also quite important. Think about when you want to jump. Wait, let me just read the comments. But if the sim is trash, lighting wouldn't save it. I think you could upgrade and boost a shitty sim with good lighting better than boosting a very good sim with shitty lighting and shitty look development. Do you get the point? It's easier to compensate bad work with good lighting and good shading, and it's harder to compensate bad work with shitty lighting. I mean, that's quite simple, and I think everyone that has studio experience would agree with me. If not, I would be quite surprised. For the human eye, yes. If the sim is very basic, then yes. I mean, what is very basic simulation? Most clients out there don't know what is like simple simulations and beginner simulations. This is kind of stuff for us, right? We are Houdini artists, and we know what is beginner level, what is advanced level. But the client doesn't know it. The client just sees it and thinks that looks beautiful, that doesn't look beautiful. The client doesn't think about, is the simulation complex? Is it like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the point. Thank you. Can't forget people who don't know 3D have no clue what a good sim is. Exactly, that's the point I'm talking about. So the next point is also quite important for me. Think about when to start freelance. And I think that makes quite a lot sense if I explain it also a little bit. For example, if you just finish university and you learned 3D rendering and 3D animation at university, you did a couple of maybe tutorials on your own. I think it's not a good time to start freelance because you don't have studio experience. You don't know how studios work. You don't know how to use maybe render farms or whatever. I think it's always important to have a couple of years of studio experience before you jump into freelance. And you may ask now, what is the ideal timing for starting freelance? I would say 2 to 5 years of studio experience. And I think 2 years is the minimum, and I think 5 years around this range you are good to go. And try to find the best studio you could imagine, and also try maybe after 1 or 2 years try to switch to another studio, to a maybe better, well-known studio, and try to learn from them. Try to really understand their setups. Use this time as an employee to dig into the setups from the seniors, and yeah, try to learn what makes a good shot. What is a good transition? Don't also think about single shots, but think about the entire clip. What works in the entire clip? What gives a good flow? All this kind of experience, you're lacking this if you just start right away freelancing after your university. And the bad part about this, if you do this, you kind of burn bridges. Imagine being booked from a studio and they just recognize you don't have a lot of experience, you don't nail the job at all. They're probably not going to book you again, right? So I think, yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, what was the next point? Um, Let me check. Yo, Jacob, what's up? Nice to see you here, my friend. How are you? Yeah. So the next thing I would like to talk about is probably the most important point for the general tips and tricks. I would say it like that. Um, okay, easy, yeah. It would be nice if you could keep on checking this or just keeping the stream on the side. That would be pretty sweet. But of course, I don't want to distract you when you're working. Anyways, but the next point is for me the most important point, I would say. And I would say it like that. Find a few motherfuckers in the industry who are also like freelancers, ideally. And obviously, you cannot be friends with anyone, but like with you probably along the way find a few guys you get along with very nicely and you kind of become friends. Make a WhatsApp group or any other space, Telegram or whatever kind of service you're using, and kind of chat with each other and ask for feedback on work. Ask whether the day rate is okayish for this studio. Ask them for, like, you receive this mail from the studio. Like, for example, I have a friend and I have obviously this group as well. Um, so like I had a situation, for example, just 1 week ago or something. A friend asked me, hey, I want to raise the day rates, and I wrote the studio that I want to raise my day rate, and he's been freelancing with the studio for quite a long time. And they came back with, yeah, we understand that you want to raise the day rate, but is it fine for longer bookings that we do a little bit of discount? And he was asking us for how would you guys react for this kind of situation stuff, and we all said, no, man, don't give them the discount. Say you raised your day rate, and that's it. So I think it's good to have a bit of a feedback from close friends, right? So I always have a stream open, so it's cool. Nice, Jacob. It's really nice to see you guys here. Hey Siri, play No Friends in the Industry by Drake. That must be probably a very depressive song, right? We meet here instead of real life. Yeah, guys. I mean, that's the first step, right? Being here and maybe getting those insights. But obviously, I cannot I cannot be the best friend for everyone. Sorry, I try to, but sorry, I probably cannot. So find a few guys from the industry. Could be from your last studio you've been working with, or could be from Barcelona off, or I don't know. And create a WhatsApp group with those maybe 2 or 3 motherfuckers you really like, and ask them frequently whether your reaction to email or to certain stuff in the industry is okay or is fine, or how they would approach certain problems and stuff like that. So yeah, feedback's always good, especially with more complicated questions. Exactly, Tim, exactly. So let me write that down. How do I make a few very close friends and start a WhatsApp group to get feedback? Um, yeah, and also, like obviously we all have NDAs and kind of stuff, but I feel like with those very close friends you trust to 100%, you can also break the NDAs and ask for more specific, in-depth questions. I hope here's no studio owner, otherwise I will not get a booking anymore. But yeah, I think this is really important that you have feedback from close friends who also like you, who don't want to give you bad advice or want to see you fail or something. There are a lot of nice Slack and Discord groups as well. I totally agree. I don't know if you guys know this group, but it's a quite cool one. Lots of cool people inside there, but I'm not the host of the group, so I cannot invite you. Sorry. I think it can help with the reach, but I think a strong portfolio with good work is much more important. Having a good friends in the same bubble is valuable. I wouldn't have gotten anywhere without making friends who do 3D as well. Yeah, exactly. That's what Yannick leak. That's what Yannick said. I think it is really important to have friends in the bubble, and you can like actually friends you can speak to if you have problems with certain stuff like clients, budgets, whatever, like any problem that is work related. It's always good to have another opinion on that topic. So that's also a really good and important point for me. So yeah, let's watch this next stream together, Marco. Yeah, Marco's also here. Your place. Ah, Marco. Ah, now I see it. Nice to see you here. Lovely. So many familiar names. It's super sweet to see you guys here. Anyways, let's jump into the next little tip and trick. So make a few very close friends in industry who also freelance and chat with them frequently about rates, their experiences with clients, how to answer certain mails, etc. We have that. So the next thing I want to speak with you guys, and it would be very interesting to hear your opinion, is fixed budget versus day rates. What do you guys prefer and why? And then I can tell you what I prefer and why. But would be quite interesting to see if you guys would either prefer fixed budgets or day rates. Man, don't put pressure on me. You want to watch me on the big projector? Don't watch me inside of the project, inside of the studio, I mean. But yeah, actually, if you do, send me a picture. That would be super sweet. So I can repost that on my Instagram or something. Um, uh, yeah, project-based means fixed budget. I mean, fixed budget like project-based. Project-based. So let's say the studio reaches out and says, let's see, we have this kind of project. We pay you 10,000 euros and that's it. And it doesn't matter how long you would take for that. So Jacob says, I prefer my day rate, but in reality, there is mostly a fixed budget in my experience, but I usually work with agencies or direct clients, not with studios. Okay, interesting. I would say for me, it's mostly day rates. I had a few times fixed budget or project-based budget, but yeah, interesting. For me, direct client work, project rate, 100%, studio work, day rate mostly, sometimes project rate. Okay, interesting. So I made bad experience with project-based budget. Like I had one direct client, like when I was a beginner, a freelance beginner, and we didn't had a very crazy contract that covered like all the feedback rounds or stuff like that. They just throw a good number at me and said, "Hey, could you create us a clip? We pay you this." And it was like, "Okay, easy one. Takes me maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and I'm done with that, and it's gonna look good, and I'm fine with that." And in the end, it turned out it took me, I think, 2 or 1.5, I think it was 1.5 months or something, 6 weeks to finish it because the client was pushing it and was trying to get more and more feedback rounds into it. And I just realized that if I would had communicated a day rate, then probably the client wouldn't go for as many feedback rounds because the client is also aware of every feedback rounds cost him more and more money. So I'm always a bit sus when it comes to project-based salary or project-based budget. So yeah, I would personally, I prefer day rates. That's the reason why. But I don't know whether you guys made good experience with project-based budget. Let me check. I rarely work with studios. If I committed to a project rate, I will clearly communicate an amount of revision rounds, and after those, my day rate applies automatically. Yeah, that's a good point, Welsing 3D. I should have done that also back in the days, but I was a beginner. I was a noob in the field. I just trusted the client. Never trust clients, actually. That's also a good point. Let's write that down. Never trust clients because they're gonna fuck around with you at some point, right? Project-based pricing requires clear terms and a client that is understanding if they go overboard, which is rare. Exactly. And because it is rare, I personally stick to my day rate. I also communicate that with direct clients. I say, look, my day rate, which is a bit higher, as you can see here, for the direct clients. My day rate is, for example, 1,000 euros. We can do that. It takes approximately 1 or 2 weeks to create that, and that would be this and that, and then you calculate, do the math. Yeah. So, but yeah, interesting that a lot of people work with fixed project-based budget. Hi, Berg. Nice to see you here. Hello, my friend. I very rare that they count the amount of revisions were agreed on. beginning, though. I think it's super rare. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, quite a lot of people, right? What an all-star meeting here. Thank you for the follow, guys. I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, I think, let me check. I have one more point for general tips and tricks that I would apply here, and then we can add some points if something else comes to your mind. Thanks for the follow. Thank you very much. So the last point I would put in here is look at community events in your city and them. I think this is quite obvious in terms of networking. If there is a Houdini Hug or a Houdini Hive or any other community meetup in your area, go out, meet other Houdini artists, meet other people from the design field. Bye bye, Yannick. Thank you for being here. So I think this is really important because also even though it is just with other Houdini artists, that could also lead to client work. For example, if someone is like fully booked and they receive offers for client related work, they might give you the client work. They push it towards you, and maybe you have capacities to take over. So it's always nice and good to be in person in some community events. Yeah. So would you guys add anything else that is like really eye-opening? What was really eye-opening for you as a freelancer? Besides amount of revision rounds, the project-based contract should include a maximum project time and conditions like half amount of money upon project start and conditions when rest is due, or what happens if the client cancels shortly before project start. That's a good point, Welsing 3D. That's 100% a good point. But I feel like we are creatives and we are not lawyers, so it's super hard to come up with those bullet points in a contract. For me, at least, I don't have like maybe if someone has a good contract, we could share along with the other people here. That would be super nice. I will share definitely this list with you. Jacob, yeah, conferences like the off. I would count that as community events as well. Let's maybe write that in brackets. Conferences like off or us by night, maybe. Those are quite good, especially for us designers, right? So yeah. Also, that was the last time I kind of met so many great artists. Like also Jacob, I met you in person, which was super nice. And also, that's also the time in the year when I meet Tim in person. It's super nice because usually these people are spread all over Germany and you don't see them very often in person. So it's always nice to go to the off. I think the off in Barcelona is probably the biggest event for us 3D designers. So yeah, keep that in mind. Maybe let's off Barcelona. Barcelona. Because there's other offs as well, right? In I don't know where, but there's a lot of offs. Yeah. But with day rates, the better and faster you can work, the less money you would get. Yeah, that's a good point. But usually I think like if you have direct clients and you say to them you have day rates and they have no idea about 3D, you just delay it a little bit. And I think like with studios, usually if you work with 3D studios, I feel like they kind of can calculate the amount of time that's that's been needed in order to establish this kind of shot is usually calculated quite well. I never been to a studio that gave me, for example, 5 weeks for a shot that took 2 days for me. I never had that experience with a studio. Like usually the time frame for the booking and the shot is kinda accurate with studio work. What should people do who live in countries without that communities and studios? Does that mean relocating is crucial? Interesting question. I think it is not 100% needed to relocate. If you really want to stay in the country you are right now, you can, but it will be a bit harder for you to connect with people. What you can do is, for example, to go to the off once per year. It's just, I think, a couple of days, 4 days. I think usually it starts on Thursday or Friday and is over the weekend. You just fly to Barcelona, stay there for a couple of days and try to do as much networking as possible. And then you fly back into your country and then you could try and stay in contact with those people. But if you want to work, obviously, as an employee for a studio, there are some studios which are really good and they accept remote work. But I promise you, you don't learn as much as if you are on site with the studio. Because it's so much easier to just take a look over to your colleague and ask, hey, how did you create the setup? That looks fucking killer, man. Thank you. And he shows you how he did this effect and walks you through his setup. And if you are remote, you can open scenes from colleagues. You could ask for calls with them where they walk you through. But I think in theory you can do that, but in the real life world you almost never do this. You maybe look into the setup and try to understand it on your own. But I did it a few times and asked for a run through or a walk through the setup, but I felt like I was a bit distracting towards the people or keeping them from working, and that's why I didn't do that very often. Um, Yeah, so anyways, let's jump maybe in another very interesting topic, and that will be what to do in order to get clients. I think that's interesting for a lot of people, isn't it? Let me just copy those layers and put it maybe, come on, put it maybe over here. Those layers are a bit fucked up now. We can delete all this stuff. It's something here. Wait, this one, right? So how to attract clients and maybe do a little, I don't know, kind of like this. Filling, yeah, that's not too weird. Okay, how to attract clients or how to get clients. So I think good that studios don't hire you for Photoshop work. Yeah, I'm really bad with Adobe programs. Guys, I'm really, really bad with Adobe programs. So I almost never use Photoshop and I barely use After Effects for color grading and stuff like that, but I'm also not really good with After Effects. That's my kryptonite. That's my weakness. It's a hard truth, but moving to a bigger city where you can intern at a studio agency is vital if you are still young. It is. I agree with Welcome 3D. It's really nice if you have the opportunity to move into a bigger studio and if you have the opportunity to maybe like work with a bigger studio And if that means like moving into a bigger city, it's always nice. I would do that if you're still young and don't have responsibilities like a child or like a wife that is waiting for you every day or something like that. I think it's a quite nice experience. So how to attract clients? I think the very first point is networking. I think networking is so important. And it doesn't matter whether I think networking for me most of the time is more like being in person, for example, being at the off, being at community events, speaking to other artists, maybe meeting studio owners, meeting producers, sharing with them your Instagram account, reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your studio work, X, Z, Y, whatever. Look, this is my Instagram account. This is what I do. I enjoy maybe doing small scale scenarios with simulations, macro shots with strong depth of field, or you are a landscape artist, you like creating interiors, whatever." Wow, what was that sound? Thank you very much. Thank you a lot. Oh, wow. I appreciate that sub a lot. Thanks, man. That's really sweet. Anyways, yeah, I think networking is crucial, and I think networking is really important. And although if you are a shy guy, it is really important to do that face to face in real life. I think real life experiences are so much more like they stay in the back of your head instead of doing a quick chat on Instagram, for example. I think you you kind of forget about the chat on Instagram easily, but if you speak to a person face to face, they most of the time remember it even years after. So networking is important, especially in person. I mean, in my opinion. Um, the answer is create very good work and put it out there. Social media. Put in the work yourself, work and learn hard, get very good, then show that. I totally agree. Like we were speaking about networking, but let's come to that point since Welsing 3D already opened that topic. Networking is important, don't get me wrong. But what is even more important than networking is that your work has the right quality for that studio. So, for example, if you want to work with high-end studios like Future Deluxe, Tendril, whatever, your personal work and your skill level needs to match their skill level, obviously, right? So it doesn't make sense to apply there if your skill level is not the same. They will not even answer you because like yeah, it's like imagine being a football guy and you play in the last league and you try to play in the Champions League, for example. You try to apply for Real Madrid and you want to play with Cristiano Ronaldo, but obviously you are a kicker from the last league or something. It doesn't make sense, right? You need to also be on the same level in order to work with them. So make sure your portfolio and your work is same level from the studio. Sure. I always wanted to do that in stream. Sure. But yeah, I think the point is self-explanatory. Um, so yeah, make sure you put a lot effort into your hobby as a 3D. Make sure you learn on your own, like grind all the tutorials, grind everything that is out there. Make sure you develop as an artist and you kind of match the skill level. And sometimes, like what we people tend to do is how do I say that without being rude? Is we tend to feel like our work is better than it actually is, because we spend so much time into it, and we kind of we spend so much time and effort into it, and that's a psychological effect that happens. And at some point you think, I spent so much time into this project and needs to be good. It must be good, right? I spent 20 hours. Like, nothing shitty can be done after 20 hours. So, and that's not the case with 3D. Sometimes it can be shitty even after 50 hours or something. I think what is crucial is maybe ask those 3 friends, like we said, make a few very close friends here, and especially reach out to them and say, guys, I need feedback, but please be brutally honest. Like, just, guys, be brutally honest and give me good feedback, and don't be not just nice to me, because, like, friends sometimes tend to be nice to you, but don't say the truth. But just say to them, guys, I want to grow. I want to hear what is bad about the project. How can I improve? What can I do better about this shot? What would you guys say? And grow together in this kind of small group. I think that is really important. And also, you can also use social media as a benchmark. If you post it on social media and you almost get non-attention for it, it's probably not the best work. I'm not sure. Get someone like Vitaly. He's brutally honest always. Yeah, Vitaly Grossman is an OG. He's a goat. I don't know, I've never worked with him, but if he is brutally honest, I think that is something that is really important in the field, because you don't grow if people just say, yeah, that's good work, that's nice work, that's blah blah blah. You just grow as an artist if someone is, like, really honest to you. And I feel like that is real friendship, right? If people are just nice to you, but if they want you to grow. So for me, friendship doesn't mean just being nice, but actually wanting also that the other people around me grow. And although it might sound rude when they come up with, after you put in 20, 30 hours of 30 hours of work into this piece, and they come up with and say, hey man, that's bullshit because this, and that, and blah, blah, blah. It might sound rude in the very first glimpse of that information, but if you think about it, it's actually the other way around. It's actually that the person really takes its time to explain you why this piece is not working and what makes it better. And I feel like you need to hear that in order to grow. So really appreciate people who are honest to you. It's awesome. He made some of my work so much better with his direction. Exactly. And in the end, the work gets better by feedback, right? Especially if you are able to get feedback from someone who is longer in the field, who is maybe a senior or who was working at a big studio or something, or a well-known studio. That's another thing. Be someone others want to work with. Be helpful, nice, professional. Don't be a dick. Be the one others will choose because working with you is fun and we want. Exactly. That was really, I swear to God, that was the next point on my list. Oopsies. I wrote down, wait, let me see. Be a nice guy people want to work with. Yeah, that was the next point on my list. Be a nice guy people want to work with. I think that is also obviously quite self-exploratory. I mean, when a colleague reaches out and asks you, hey, can you help me to do this and that? Don't say no or just do it in a very short way. Try to really help other people in the studio, and try to, like, always be friendly, always be nice, supportive. And I think those are the soft skills that are really important nowadays. New Twitch format. Great designers dismantle my portfolio. Jacob, we have that format already. Every weekend I roast portfolios. So if you want to join the roast for the next weekend, Jacob, you're welcome to join me, and we roast those portfolios together. It's quite fun. It's really funny. Is it? I feel like those people don't stick around for long. Quick question. Who wants to see Jacob, yippee with me together and roast the portfolios from junior artists? One in the chat. Write one in the chat if you want to see Jacob with me roasting portfolios on the weekend. Write one in the chat. Okay, there you go. There you go, Jacob. So I think we need to do that together. There's no way around it. Okay. Guys, we have an agreement. You are the witnesses to see Jacob agreed to join me on the weekend. Yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go. Awesome. What was the next point on the list? Networking is important ahead, then being a nice guy. So the next part is something a lot of people don't enjoy, but I think is necessary nowadays. Be present on social media. And with that, I'm gonna say not only them, but what else? We have Twitter, we have LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really underrated. LinkedIn is quite important. I received a lot booking offers or booking requests from LinkedIn. So don't underestimate LinkedIn. And we have, what else do we have? Reddit also. Reddit, Threads. I'm also posting a lot on Reddit, by the way. There's subreddits for Redshift, for Houdini. Show your work there. It's always nice to do that. What did Jacob say? But honestly, I don't even know if I have strong portfolio for this kind of freelancing we are talking about right now. I haven't worked with studios much in my career. Man, don't mind. You had a talk at the off, like only the best of best designers got invited to talk at the off. I don't know, guys, if you have been here yesterday, but I showed the rap from Jacob from his off talk. It was for real one of the coolest ideas ever to drop this kind of 16 bars bangers in the end. I really enjoyed this so much. It was really cool. It was really nice. Good question, by the way. Is Behance still important? I would say Behance is a bit about to die. I watched your VOD this morning, and it's really hard for me to watch it. Really, man, it was seriously you did it so well. I mean, you're not a rapper, obviously, but you got the whole crowd into it. You kind of did it very nice, and I remember like I was watching your talk outside at the off. I was outside with Felix and Berg, I think. Or was Berg? No, Berg was not there, I think, this year. It was with Felix and Dennis. No, not Austin. Simon. Oh my god, sorry, I'm so confused. It was with Felix and Simon. Fucking shit. And I was a little bit drunk. And when you started rapping, I really felt it, man. I was immediately dancing and having fun. It was so cool. I've never seen that at Off Talk, but it was really, really good. So yeah, don't mind, man. Anyways, so be present on social media is quite important, and put work out there. Post as often as you can. Be present on those platforms. I mean, there is some more platforms, but I think those are irrelevant, like ArtStation, for example. I don't know if anyone uses ArtStation nowadays. I feel like ArtStation was a thing a couple of years before for more like VFX stuff, and I don't know, ArtStation is a bit dead. Yeah. So ArtStation is more for game development. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not from the game development bubble or from the VFX bubble, so I cannot say whether this is important for this kind of industry field. But for our industry, ArtStation is it's that. I think no designer uses ArtStation. So yeah. Let me see. What else do I have on the list? How to attract clients. I have quite a few more points. Here, be present on social media, blah, blah, blah. So this also comes with more work than you think, right? The social media thing. This is also kind of something a freelancer needs to do, I feel like. It's really important to be seen. So what else do I have on the list? Yeah, the next point is also something like I think most people don't like to hear, but write mails. Write cold mails, email addresses from LinkedIn. So what do I mean about this is that's actually a little trick that Berg told me once. And by the way, shout out to Berg if he's still in the chat. Thank you for this good tip and trick here. So actually, like you have the email address from the studios, right? You have the sorry, something is in my throat. So you have those email addresses from those official email addresses from the studios, right? For example, apply@manversusmachine.com or jobs@futuredeluxe.com or whatever. Don't use those email addresses. I promise to you, you will never get an answer. And you could, like, if you write an email, you could take this email address, like jobs at studio name whatever fuckoff.com to the CC, right? You could still take them in the CC, but go to LinkedIn, look up for producers from the certain studios and reach out to the email addresses from those producers directly. Because as far as I know, I think I was speaking about this topic with a producer from Man vs. Machine, and he told me they receive per day 50 emails on this. Like 50 guys reach out per day and they want to work with them. So obviously, he cannot read all those emails every day because he needs to do other stuff, right? You probably need a person on its own to just like write those emails back and say, hey, sorry, no, blah, 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 blah. So I would personally say if you go with cold mails, always look for specific email addresses from producers, from creative directors, from head of production, or something like that. There are also services like Rocket Reach to get emails. Interesting. I didn't know that actually. So, and also when it comes to emails, I have another thing I would like to speak about with you guys. So for my very first internship at Sponsor, I'm sure you guys know the studio. This is the studio from Munich, but I show you them. So what the hell is going on with their logo? But anyway, so for my very first internship with Sponsor, I was writing, I think, 3 emails or something, or even more, I think, 4 or 5 emails until they accepted me. So first email, I didn't receive a reply. Then second email, I was writing, "Hey, did you receive my first email? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't receive a reply. I just wanted to check in whether you received it." I think also no reply. Then I took my phone and I called them. I was really, really annoying back in the day, but I wanted the internship because I feel like in Munich, this is one of the few 3D studios in the commercial area that are really good. And I wanted to really work with them. And then I like kind of called them, being really, really annoying, and asked whether they received the email or not. And then they said, "Yeah, you know, we received so many emails, we cannot reply to any email. But let me check into it." And I think after the call, I received an answer. And then it still didn't work out because it was for this, like in Germany, we say it Praxis semester. And for this kind of semester where you need to do the internship, they only pay you 500 euros per month or something. It's like a bureaucracy stuff. They cannot pay you more. And it's like, I don't know, it's some weird stuff, but that's the amount of money they can pay you. And I said, "Listen, I understand that that's the way how you do it usually, but I cannot accept it because I have a flat to pay. I need to make a living, and that's not even enough money to pay my rent." So I needed to put that offer down, and I ended up doing this kind of semester, this practical semester, at another studio, which is actually a quite small one in Augsburg. But they're really cool. I like the people a lot, and I really had a super nice time at them. So let me see. Maybe the work I was working on. Yeah, I created this when I was an intern there. I mean, it's quite technical, but I had really a lot of fun creating this one. Let's actually watch this together. Let's see if it's playing. Let me just turn the sound off. So yeah, this was when I was an intern and still a student. It's a super simple one. I think there's some other stuff happening, isn't it? No, wait. I think there was other shots. Yeah, it's still going. Sorry. So yeah, and then I wrote the next emails to Ike Sponsor after the internship at this studio. So this was maybe the fourth or fifth email I wrote to Ike Sponsor, and I said, "You know what? Maybe I cannot come as an internship to your studio, but maybe I can apply as a working student." This is another form in Germany that's been pushed. So you can become a working student, and then you have other kind of taxes to pay and stuff like that. And they were able to pay me a bit more than for the internship. So yeah, and in the end, I ended up being a working student at their place. And this was only possible because I was so annoying. So don't give up or be frustrated if a studio don't replies on the very first email. I think sometimes you need to write 2, 3, or 4 emails to studios, and I think it's fine. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Um, uh, Background kind of boring. Time to roast intern work. It is, guys, chill, chill. I think it also was not the client to create some fancy work, but what did Welsing wrote? "I would be very, very careful with cold emails. You get the chance only once. So get feedback on your work by professionals in your network before you write. That's the first impression you will get once. Blow it. Don't even try again. Again, hard." I would disagree. I would highly disagree. I would highly disagree. So I think you could apply 2, 3, 4 times. And I think as a studio owner, it's also nice if they see you develop on your own, like you become better and better from every time you wrote the email. And even if he revisited your portfolio and he sees new work, which is better, I think that speaks for you. It speaks for you that you are not giving up, that you are a person who knows where you want to work, what you want to do, and that you don't give up. That's my personal opinion to it. So yeah, I think you are maybe a bit too strict with yourself here. I think it reflects nicely on you if you like, even if they reply, "Hey, you know what? Your work doesn't match the style of us." That's a kind of way to say that your work sucks. But if they kind of say to you through the flower that your work sucks, don't give up. Don't be frustrated. Be like, try to use that as an opportunity and think about, why did they say that to me? Like, how can I improve myself? And then try it again, man. What did Jacob say? I even was told sometimes what they are missing in my portfolio, and then I should get back to them if I go into that direction, so it can be different. Yeah, I think that's nice. Even if I think it's even better if they say, "Hey, your portfolio is lacking this or that," and then you can specifically go into that direction and fill out that gap. So I think that's even better if the studio tells you, "Hey, you're lacking this or that." So yeah, don't be frustrated if the studio don't replies to you, or yeah, be a bit annoying and reach out to them kinda again and again and again. I mean, obviously not 10 times in 1 week. Like, you write a mail, you wait a couple of months, right? And then you write maybe the second mail. Don't be too annoying, obviously. If they reply to you. If they don't reply, you could be more annoying and ask whether they received the first mail. You could also take a quick call and ask, "Hey, did you receive the mail?" or something. Yeah. But I would agree that this is rarely the case. I also agree that most studios don't tell you what you are lacking in your portfolio. That's very rare that the studio says, "Hey, you need to dig more into, I don't know, look development or this and that or whatever." That's usually not the case. I would call being annoying more like being motivated and focused, what Max says. Annoying is something else, I think. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it's more showing the studio that you really want that job, that this is your passion, that you're really kinda into it. You really want to have this position and not at a different studio or something. And yeah, I think it's just a good thing to do. Thank you very much. Um, if they don't reply the first mail, go directly to the studio and challenge them to a fist fight over the position. Yeah, whoever wins the fist fight gets the new position. Jokes aside, I think there is a good thing about, I mean, if the studio is around your corner or if it's not too far away, go there in person and maybe ask in person, like, ring the bell and say, "Hey, it took me really much to come here in person. I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed, but I wanted to ask if there is an opportunity for me to work as an intern, or I don't know, to start as a junior or something." So what did Jacob send? Let me check that out. Graphic design is my passion. The best thing about is the Comic Sans typography. Yeah. Anyways, let's proceed with our little list here. So do I have another point? Let me check. Write cold mails, but look on Instagram for direct contacts. Okay, we had that. Reactivate old contacts from the time working as a staff. That is also something that is really underrated. Like, for example, let me write that down. Reactivate old from the time working as a staff. So let's say you made an internship at a good studio and then you kind of left them because you wanted to try out another studio or freelancing, don't be ashamed. They don't take it personally. Like in 99%, they don't take it personally that you left. So don't be afraid reaching out to them back again and asking for freelance work. I did that with Ike Sponsor and I did it with other studios and it worked out in most of their cases. And I think also for a good friend of mine, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that name, but he's also in the chat here. It also worked out quite well with the studio. He was working as staff for quite a long time, and I think his very first freelance gig or his very first freelance job was with that studio actually. No, I mean he can write in the chat if he wants to, but I'm not gonna leak the name. Yeah. So I think it was his first freelance gig with the same studio. Wish I was 20 years younger. I would totally intern at a studio. Already told that to Micha from Marmalade. Oh, Marmalade, great studio. Yeah. Yeah, I get the point. It's like when you reach a certain age, you are not able to do internships like if you're 20 or something. But yeah, time is flying, guys. Let's jump over to the next point. So the last point here, and then we can hop over to another topic, is ask freelance friends if they have find work which they cannot accept because they are already booked. Like, I don't know how you guys feel, but in this kind of group chat I mentioned here, like make a few friends and start a group chat or a Slack group or whatever. Like we constantly push jobs to each other. Like whenever I'm booked and I receive another booking offer, I immediately ask my friends, hey, how is your capacity? Do you need a job? I can forward you that contact. They're looking for a great designer at the moment. Just write them an email. And this led to so many jobs, I think, for me and also for my friends, which is nice. I think it's all about growing together, right? So same here. I only did a year during studies in an illustration studio. I sometimes feel it was not enough. Interesting. I think Jacob, I think I was listening to the podcast from Ohne Hype. Was it Ohne Hype? Or yeah, and I think you were telling the story there. It was super interesting, by the way. So I can recommend you that talk, guys. Maybe Jacob can post the link in the chat. Really good, podcast there. How old is max to make intern be okay? I mean, what is max age for that? I think there is no max age for that. I mean, usually interns are fairly young because, like, if you are older, for example, 40 plus, you start to have a family, you start to have maybe a credit to pay because you bought a house or something. So you cannot easily become an intern because interns usually don't earn a lot money. It's usually like that. Interns usually don't earn money at all, or they just receive a little bit money, and you cannot do this if you are older. So usually interns are younger, but there's no maximum age for that, I think. Let me check. In Germany, you are mostly required to study in a design field. I'm not so sure. I think if your portfolio is strong enough, you don't need to be in a design field in order to get an internship. I mean, if you, for example, are doing an engineering study or you are not at university at all, but you just learned Houdini and stuff like that on your own with tutorials, I think you can apply as an internship anyways without having a design study at all. Um, some studios only take students as interns because of the costs. Yeah, that's unfortunately something that happens quite a lot because they can save some money regarding the taxes and stuff like that. Yeah, what Dennis said, it's about tax stuff. That's a good point. Okay, yeah, you got me. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I take that back. Yeah, it's probably something tax related, so they most of the time prefer probably guys from university and ideally in a design field. So yeah. Anyways, the last thing I wanted to talk before I close this stream for today, and I think it's super interesting, and I appreciate it so much that you guys so active in the chat. We're having a really, really nice conversation here. So would you add something onto how to attract clients, by the way? Because otherwise I would jump into the next thing, and the next thing is social media do's and don'ts. But if you have something you would like to add here, give me a shout. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, one more point. Waffengewalt. Okay, bro. Make fake client work. You think making fake client work is better than actually doing a personal project that is more art related? I think maybe art related work is better than faking client work. I mean, at least in my opinion. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have other experiences made with that topic. Yeah. Just double down on the networking part. Okay, so there's one more thing to cover, and then we gonna. I will send you this list as well. So let me copy that over. And the last part I wanted to speak about is actually social media do's and don'ts. Just a quick social media do's and don'ts. Let me check that. And let me copy that. Doop, 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 doop. So let's see. So the very first thing when it comes to social media, and I know this might sound obvious to some of you, but I see it so often when I review portfolios. Don't mix your art related work with your private stuff. So when it comes to Instagram, you have the opportunity to create 2 accounts, one that contains your art related stuff and one that contains your private stuff. And I would like almost all the time separate it. There is one exception, like if you are that well known like Vincent Schwenk or Jacob, for example, then you can start maybe more to show people more the person behind the art. But when you start a small art related account, I would not mix personal stuff with art related stuff, but there are exceptions, like I said. So don't mix your art with your private posts. Don't mix your art posts with your private posts. Create 2 separate accounts. Yeah, it's bad wording, I would say. Make stuff you want to work on, and it can be something based on brands you like, but in general, yeah, make personal project, but they can be also commercially looking. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter whether it's an art-related project or an inspired project by something commercial, just make sure you have fun. I think having fun is the most important part. And if you truly enjoy 3D and have fun in creating stuff, it will, in 90% of all cases, will be also good work, like in terms of quality. Yeah. Lol, I'm not on Vin's level, but I agree. I'm trying to show myself more, but I'm trying to get away from client work and promote my own things. Yeah, exactly. I think, man, don't lowball yourself. I mean, you had a talk at the off. That's super crazy. That's probably the dream of every designer. So let's keep it like that. Don't mix your art posts with your private posts unless you have had an off talk. That's the benchmark. That's the line. You need to have a talk at the off, then you are allowed to mix your art with your private stuff. Yeah. Okay, then I'm good to go. Exactly. Okay, anyways, so what is the next point here? So yeah. Okay, the next one is something I really hate, but it's how things work. Be active media in order to keep the algorithm alive. So I think like that's pretty self-explanatory because like the algorithm likes active people, right? And ideally, if you post every day, that would be ideally. But I don't know how you guys feel. I cannot have daily output with 3D because it requires like all the work in Houdini, simulation, animation, then rendering and stuff. And it's simply not possible to have an output for every day. So what I try to do instead is I try to be active in another way. And what I mean by that is like share stories, like or share posts in your stories. Let's keep it like that. So, for example, you see good work from studios you really like. Leave a comment out there, give them a like, and also share it into your story. This is like 2 clicks, so why not? And I think it's not the same. It's not on the same level if you post something, but it somehow keeps the algorithm a bit alive. It's not. It would be better if you have a post every day, but that's not possible. So if you just share posts in your stories from really good 3D work, you also feel like you kind of connect with that work in any reason. Maybe it's a technical crazy setup you love, or it's just good studio work, or it's a friend of you. So why not giving him the friend like a little boost and a little more reach out by simply sharing the into your story. I think sharing is caring, and it also keeps the algorithm alive. So I think it's a win-win situation. And I see so many inactive Instagram accounts who don't use the story feature for months. Like they're inactive for months. They don't write any comment on any other work. They don't share anything in their story. So yeah, I think this one is really important. So Jacob says, that's a good one. You provide something for your followers with that as well. Exactly. You show your followers what's your taste, what you like in 3D. You keep the algorithm for yourself alive. You do something good for the person you like, maybe, or you think the person did a good work. You give them appreciation, which we all like to have, right? If we do good work on ourselves, it would be nice if more people just share it. I mean, why not? It's also very unique to the 3D and especially Houdini community. Posting work of others that blew you away. You won't see that much elsewhere. I totally agree. I think it's a nice thing, and we all should do that more. In my opinion, I try to do whenever I see good work, I try to repost it. So yeah, let me see what else. Share stories, write comments, like posts. What else? Yeah. And also, I think speaking about you cannot post every day, but you can do from time to time work in progress stuff, right? So share your work in progress. I think Jacob is doing that pretty well, actually. I see a lot posts from him where he just records himself creating stuff, like actually whether it's 3D printed or it's some other 3D related work. I really enjoy those posts. I kind of watch them and I cheer up because so yeah, I think that's really nice. Yeah, but you should keep it up, man. It's really cool to see all this work in progress stuff. And it gives us more content to work with, right? To keep the algorithm alive. So yeah. To be active. Yeah. Okay. So a few more points. And so another thing that comes to my mind when you curate your work on Instagram, for example, you really use the pin feature. I think you are allowed to pin 3 posts and 3 reels on top of your profile. Really select the work you want to be booked for, like whether it's simulation work or it's look development work, or you just kind of have this work that is important for you. Pin it on top of your profile because that's the very first thing people will see when they come to your profile. And it's a feature people are not using very often. I don't see that too often. I see a lot profiles who don't use that feature. That's quite a bummer. Uh, yeah, this is my plan for this year on Instagram. Definitely also test reels. Nice, man. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to those kind of stuff. Jacob and Mia agreed on it. Do you have collabs mentioned in the list? Wait, what are you talking about? It's also very unique to the 2D, and I think posting small R&D stuff in stories is also really nice. Yeah, exactly, Tim. Like posting R&D stuff, posting work in progress things, really keeps the algorithm alive. Jacob is CPA. Just write TPA in Instagram, you'll find him. Anyways, the next point. Exactly. Yeah. Collabs are really important. Let me write that down. Do collaborations with other 3D, make collaboration posts. This really gives you all the attentions from both of the followers. Like if two artists collaborate with each other, it really gives a higher audience that can review the work. So that's something I would do for sure. If you have the possibility to work with an artist, you really like the style, you adore the style, so for sure, reach out and ask for collaborations. Yeah. Then the pins. Yeah, I was talking about the pins. Let me write that down. Pin your best work. Pin your best work on top of your profile. So producers. So what did I say? Producers and creative directors see them first. So producers and creative directors. Really do that. That's really important with pinning the best work because if you post work in progress, stuff could get lost in your posts. So that's something I would do for sure. And what's next? What next? What can we say next? And I think what is also pretty interesting is if you have R&Ds for a longer project, for longer project, I mean, of course, create those slides, create posts, more slides. So what do people do with those posts? They will end up being longer on the post and swipe through all the slides. And it turns out the algorithm likes if people spend more time on your posts. So that's for sure something I would do. It really helps to keep the algorithm also alive. How do I define which one is the best? If I love all of them. If you love all of your work, maybe let the algorithm decide. Maybe take a look which posts got the most attention, and you could choose that. Or maybe ask your friends, hey, what do you think is the best work, or which work of all of my works do you like the most? And it doesn't need to be 3D artists. You could like ask your mother, you could ask your father, or you could ask your girlfriend. Yeah, and really go with the opinion from your friends, just like Jacob said. Exactly. So I'm working on a post that will say something like start here, and it will be carousel with me introducing myself, what I've done, what people can expect on my feed, etc. Might not be for everyone, but I like that. Sure, man, you should for sure do that. So yeah, there's always ways to find what people like the most or what they think is the best post. So let decide them. Anyways, next point. Also very important one. If you are not booked at time wisely to grow your come on, your skills, your 3D skills. As a freelancer, it is really common that you're not booked for the entire time. And don't just sit at home, smoke one Juby after another, and just watch stupid reality TV or something. I do like to do that from time to time, but do that maybe if you have, for example, 1 week. No, you're definitely for sure that this week there is no client work. Maybe use 1 or 2 days to do that, and then use the other days to kind of do personal work. Maybe dig into other design fields, grab inspiration, go out hiking, do some sports that inspire you, or go into a museum that inspires you, or yeah, just watch a nice YouTube tutorial you wanted to watch for months or for years and you had no time for it. I think this is how you should use the time. Yeah, of course, touch some grass. That's also something that is really, really important. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's don't get me wrong. I'm not saying never have a vacation, but I feel like you could maybe have 1 or 2 days to have like rest and play video games. I don't know, if you want to smoke some weed, watch some series, do binge watching, take 1 day off or 2 days even and do nothing. But don't spend like 1, 2, or 3 weeks doing nothing. That is wasted time in my opinion. And also your mind don't need that much time to recover. I feel like 1, 2, maybe 3 days are enough, and then jump into something different, go into a museum, get new inspiration, do personal work, watch the tutorials, something like that, I feel like. I super agree with this splitting into some off days and learning personal projects. Yeah, I think that's really important. Don't just rest and do nothing at all. That's always bad. In Germany we say, "Wer rastet, der rostet," and I think there's something to it. So yeah, always go with the flow. Learn something new. Don't just be stuck in where you are. So, and I think also what I also wanted to say, if you like do also in your free time, in your spare time, personal projects, I think that also shows to studios and clients that you really love 3D. It's not only a job for you, it's your passion, it's your hobby. You also keep exploring stuff, even though you are not getting money for it, right? So that's something for sure you need to do, or you should do, at least in my opinion. Okay, then the next point is don't overthink your too much and write huge texts, for example, etc. So I think like whenever you post something, yeah, don't go into and write maybe, I don't know, 500 words text is why you created this and it's so life changing that you did this little 3D loop. It is not, it's bullshit. It's just a funny 3D loop. Let's be honest. So don't overthink and don't overrate your personal work. Just write down, hey, I don't know, I did this funny little 3D loop. Right now I'm not booked, so I have some spare time to explore some new stuff. That's it. Maybe put in some hashtags if you want to. And yeah, get a passion, hobby aside from 3D. In my personal opinion, for me, it's analog photography and object jewelry work. Yeah, man, that's for sure something. And what I really like about Tim J's hobbies is that also kind of analog photography and jewelry is also design related stuff. Um, like like for example, if you take a nice photo of a scene or of an object, you also think about the composition of the object, and you kind of immediately think about, is the lighting nice, is the contrast here good, what makes a good image, what makes a good photography, right? And I think immediately your 3D work will benefit from that as well. So yeah, maybe pick up a hobby that is also creative or design related. That would be ideal. So the last thing I want to post, it's the last bullet point here. And I think this is a very important one. You get booked for what you show. Don't expect to be booked for look development if you just simulations. I think that's also obvious. If you want to be a Houdini artist and you just post still frames of nice interior scenes, you obviously get booked for interior scenes and not for simulations. Yeah, I think this is quite self-explanatory. What am I reading here? Or come play Minecraft with Tim and me. Actually, I would be down to play 1 or 2 evenings Minecraft with you guys. So if you're into it, maybe we could do a little stream of Jacob, me, and Tim, and everyone else who wants to play with us. We could do a little Minecraft stream. But I gotta be honest here, I never ever played Minecraft before. So I'm a complete noob. You need to explain me the game from the beginning. Yeah, but I think it would be funny actually to play Minecraft with the community, wouldn't it be? I highly recommend material on cinematography for any 3D general. It's so useful for camera work and lighting in 3D. Yeah, I think so too. Watching cinematography tutorials or photography tutorials, with also like learning what is, for example, the rule of thirds, what is the golden section or anything. Yeah. Yeah, guys, come on, this fucking shit with Onepixel. I don't really look like Onepixel, do I? Let's maybe watch one or two reels from Onepixel. Okay, let's go.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on!
What they can bring to the table. I'm sure they've got enough for the AKs.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on!
What?
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 What? What? What?
What?
What? No! How
What?
dare you?
What? Is it your brother?
What?
What?
Is it family? You can't. Huh?
I'll say later. I'll say later.
Okay.
Sing like him. Yeah, I sing like I'm explaining, right? Yeah, I have the same accent because we're both from Germany, right? So.
Ouch.
What is that?
No,
I
that's
was
so
not
bad.
ready. I was on cloud 7, bro. I was on. Oh my god. Battle Sky.
That's so bad.
I had one of these before.
Yeah,
I got a Bayonet Scotch, I
we
think.
maybe
No,
should
I
open
got a
some
Forest Sticky
boxes.
Pet. I got a Oh my god, I opened so many of these cases. I did not.
Maybe we should open some Counter-Strike boxes. But to be honest, the last time I was playing Counter-Strike was with CSS, Counter-Strike Source. So it's been quite a while. I was playing Counter-Strike 1.6 with on LAN parties occasionally with friends. Then I had a little arc, a little Counter-Strike Source arc for maybe half a year or something. I was playing quite frequently, but that's how Max sings for real. Like, what the fuck?
Friends with the monster that's under my bed. Get along with the
Voices
inside of
my head.
You're trying to save me. Stop
Shut
holding
the
your
fuck
breath.
up, man.
And you think I'm crazy. Yeah, you think
I'm crazy. Yes, I do.
Cry. Sweater. Warum fliegt der Kopf? Mein Kopf platzt Gucci-Sandalen. Ich trag sie nur.
Cool. I spend my time just thinking about you. Every single day, guess I'm really missing you.
Anyways, yeah. So thank you very much for this lovely stream. I hope you guys had fun. I hope it was not too boring. I hope you had fun. I know I did. It was really nice, and I like to give something back. I hope this helped a few people. Thank you very much, Jacob. And I'm looking forward to the stream on the weekend together. If you want to, maybe we're gonna review a few portfolios. So yeah, I'm planning to do this on Saturday or Sunday, or maybe both. So yeah, see you maybe tomorrow or on the weekend, guys. Have a lovely evening, and thank you very much. Bye bye.